Hello, everybody. Hi, this is Venkat Naganathan. And firstly, I would like to thank Solace for organizing an EDA summit in 2022. Strange times we live in, and we're doing this survey more from a virtual perspective. And I'm very happy to be part of this journey with Solace and Novartis. I'm here to present the journey that Novartis has taken on the enterprise messaging service. And it's been quite an interesting journey for Novartis. But before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Venkatraman Naganathan. I'm an enterprise architect for integration at Novartis. I'm responsible for integration strategy at Novartis. I've been with Novartis for 13 years, and integration is at the heart of our business. Now, um, the key topics that we're going to cover, and then I want to probably talk more on these, are around why EDA, right, in Novartis, and EDA or EMS at Novartis, how it is different, and then a brief introduction into our logical architecture, and then we will dive into some use cases, right? I think the first thing that comes up to my mind the moment I hear EDA is around the data and its value. So I'm taking an example from Gartner, where if we plot a graph between data value and time, the data that is real time, which is predictive and preventive data, and then the data which is actionable happens in seconds. And most of the legacy systems and reportings and data decisions that we make in the pharma industry are more reactive and historical in nature, owing to the nature of our business and how we organize ourselves. And more in the last couple of years, we have been taking time critical decisions, which are very imperative for our business and also for the patients and the journey that they take care with us. And this requires our data and the IT team to be on the ground for real time and actionable data intelligence to be provided. And that will bring the time and the value to the business and also obviously the patients and their care. So pharma industry is seeing a major shift in terms of technology, and then the forefront of it is the data and being the faster than ever before from patient data to master data, and also making sure that this is adopted, this data real-time journey is adopted across all lines of business within the pharma industry. So to illustrate this and further, if you look at, there were core key challenges that we set forth in Novartis as a business challenge, and we were trying to solve these as part of our initial real-time use cases. So one of the core use cases as a pharma company, that for us managing the master data and then publishing this master data and making it available for every systems within Novartis and beyond is one of the key challenges for us. And we realize this as part of our day-to-day journey on the use cases. And our master data management system has been one of the real game changer for us. And we used an event-driven architecture in the master data management space. And we would see this little more in detail in the upcoming use case discussions. And then the data strategy as we speak, going back to the Gartner slide, and this data streams and insights that we generate and how all the data is accessible in real time for these insights to make valuable time critical decisions. So that's the key pillar for us as well. And then the end-to-end functioning as a company, for example, if you look at it, hire to retire, from the time an associate joins us till they retire Novartis, they go through various backbone services and processes. And we are currently in the process of automating and making it real time, making the journey of our associates who are working with us to be very smooth in their transition period with us. And then the digital factory, and factories obviously are becoming very smarter. We have dedicated optimized mesh IoT cloud across each of our factories, and connecting them in real time and making the data available for integration and bringing in a digital factory view enables us to increase the productivity on the factory floor and also make sure that we have enough of the raw materials or the product batches or the supply chain, all of them connected together. And this is also the secondary ones around important for us is the real-time supply chain needs. And as we speak in this strange times post-COVID, the supply chain issues, we were very keen to make sure that the end-to-end supply chain visibility across our customers and also our suppliers are there in real time, and we are able to track the inventory and the goods that are shipped are being tracked and delivered on time. That is quite important for us, and I think that is one of the key use cases for us. At this outset, we started to focus on the first two, especially the master data management, data strategy, and insights, as part of the initial roadmap for Novartis. And while setting the stage on problems, I just also wanted to position the ED event-driven architecture in Novartis and what Solace brings into the table for us, and how do we position this in Novartis. So the objective is that we wanted to create an event mesh with an enterprise messaging service in the Novartis architecture log. And the reason is essentially we want to connect the event streaming and queuing across our data centers, private and public cloud. And we also wanted to make sure that we have a very scalable data exchange across our environment, both horizontally and vertically. And in doing so with a guaranteed and secured message delivery. And that's the core for our business benefit. And Solace is bringing in a very unique set of capabilities in that direction for us. For enable event-driven architecture within Novartis. And it provides these out-of-the-box capabilities in terms of enterprise integration on scalable, secured, standalone, and multi-layer and across multi-cloud capability. And we want to make sure that we realize this potential and tightly couple this with our existing integration landscape and platform so that we have a connected, real-time data-driven enterprise within Novartis. And we have also, we will go in detail about these scenarios in the future slides, but what we have is more of a Solace in-house capability where we have set up our own in-house and also on the cloud AWS Solace setup with its own enterprise messaging layers, which are stitched together by the event mesh. So the for us to dig into more into the logical use cases and how did we implement and take a journey, I just want to give a bit of context on a very high level how Novartis, as in any other enterprise, how the architecture is predominantly set up. So the picture before you essentially is a very distilled picture of around a very high level view of how our enterprise is set up. So if you look at it, we have a Novartis intranet zone where we have most of our in-house legacy system of record applications which are sitting within our network and firewall. And we have our own API gateway instance, and we have our own managed file transfer instance for exchanging data in near real time and also in batches. And then we also have Solace fitting integrating with the our own platforms of API Gateway and Axway MFT solutions that we already have. So these connected solutions or this connected integration layer is kind of an inner layer of information exchange within Novartis. And then above that is a kind of a parallel, what I would say as a Novartis demilitarized zone, which essentially has a set of same components of integrations that we have in on-premise on the demilitarized zone. This is essentially our external facing integration layers, and they support all exchange of information in and out of our enterprise. And then just above that is the cloud slash internet zone, where we have, like any other large enterprise, a multi-hybrid scenario of SaaS and multi-hybrid cloud. So we have most of our applications in AWS and Azure, and then we also have a dedicated SAP EM and its own S4 HANA instance, where we have our applications which we have set up. And then, as you can see, we have dedicated Salesforce, ServiceNow, which are all is outside of Novartis, but they act as an extended enterprise and support us in our journey of use cases that we have. So Solace or event-driven architecture is quite important in all of these multi-cloud and also the processes which we do within the enterprise. And the event-driven architecture connects and becomes the fabric of all the real-time data exchange across all these three zones, between our partners, between our third parties, our technology partners, and also with our in-house solutions, right? So that's essentially the background around how the Novartis logical architecture landscape at a high level looks like. Now, if we go a little deeper into one of the use cases, the problem that we were essentially trying to address in terms of our master data example. So the MDM is essentially in Novartis does hold two different types of data, obviously master data and then a reference data. And this is the very foundation for us in all our patient journey or commercialization of the products that we manufacture. All this master and reference data are placed in this MDM backbone infrastructure that we have. And this essentially gets this change in that master and reference data by its own dedicated process. It could be externally triggered, or it could be triggered by the data custodians or the data stewards within the MDM. And then any change that happens needs to be available for the various applications within Novartis and also the external applications. The challenge in the current situation that we have is most of it is API driven, and it is more of a request response based data integration. The the challenge with this is it is up to the applications to pull this information on MDM, and then it is, if the change has happened in MDM, you will get the latest information, or you need to completely poll and then run a batch on a periodic basis. And this is essentially not a real-time based integration. It is more of a push and pull situation, and you need to poll, and then you cannot have any challenges in terms of large scale data integration will bring in recursive loads and data bursts, right? And this is very asynchronous in nature. And this has resulted in a lot of delays in terms of the applications, their regular workflow and how they pursue this data. So we set about changing this, if you ask me. And then the way in which we want to do that is we created what we call an enterprise enterprise level event mesh. An MDM is part of that event mesh, and the event mesh is especially responsible for publishing all the changes that happens in our master data management systems in real time, and these are then consumed by these downstream applications at their own will and wish based on the time that they would need in the format like real-time data or a batch or near real time, but the data is available in real time. And these are all more of a publish subscribe based mechanism. And this essentially solves the problem of uh, publishing the MDM data in a more push mechanism where when the event happens, the downstream systems obviously get this information. And this makes it very real time for us. And, and the need of this real time is essentially harnessed by the application's nature. And we can serve some of the applications which are very much patient centric, manufacturing centric, or employee backbone services. Get these information of the change in master or reference data in real time, and avoid any overheads on these additional jobs that needs to pull this information. Apart from this, we also enabled an iPaaS and an API capability, which are complementary to this, and they would also expose those services from the mesh, which can be consumed by a data lake or a data analytics platform based on their need from directly from this mesh. So this is more agile in nature. It enables us to bring in more applications faster, and it is more efficient than an asynchronous based APIs, and rather than it is even triggered for us. So I just want to talk about one more example around the data and insights and data strategy, which is event-driven data insights, right? I think that's a great example in terms of the collaboration that we did with SAP and Solace, and as well as within Novartis. So this is essentially taking the existing event mesh that we have created at an enterprise level, and this brings or connects most of our event-based integration across Novartis endpoints and the multi-cloud capability that we have with our core backbone on SAP. So the idea is the most of the SAP applications within Novartis have their own enterprise mesh, which is publishing their events in real time, and that would funnel into our Novartis enterprise mesh or an event messaging service, right? And this would make the applications which are generating insights to generate real-time operational reports on the data that is being published, as well as enable the end-to-end patient journey around how how this patient to pill journey of how the data that is how these data that is generated affecting the end-to-end patient to pill journey, where the patient's touch point, the manufacturing touch point, and the supply touch point are all choreographed and linked together with the use of event-driven enterprise mesh. And to also make it easy and make this event-driven data as an asset for Novartis in terms of an data marketplace, we are in the process of creating an unified catalog of all the event-driven data exchanges that happens within the enterprise in this event mesh. And this is a unified catalog across, say, in our AWS, Azure, ServiceNow, Salesforce, SAP, and also the touchpoint applications which are running on patient journeys or manufacturing secure edge applications and our supply chain. All those catalogs are being slowly curated into this unified catalog, which is our own data marketplace. This contains real-time data, event-based integration data, and batch and also any of the other forms of granularity of data, and data becomes a service, and this service essentially is consumable within Novartis across all applications within and also externally. And this is a very important milestone for us in Novartis, at least to look at an event-driven, curated, unified catalog, which provides us the potential to look at what kinds of data that we have and how do we use our data better. And this is basically to drive this event-driven architecture in Novartis and harness the potential and benefits around it. So that's essentially more about how the journey that we took in Novartis on event-driven architecture with the help of Solus and various other partners in putting together this event-driven culture and within Novartis. And I can happily say this is probably the first year of a fully blown out solution in Novartis in terms of the event-driven architecture. And thank you so much for your time. And please feel free to shoot any questions.